Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And, of course, Adam Caplan. Well, not of course. He's not normally – actually, he is normally here on a Tuesday. Yesterday, Andrew was here. Adam's normally on a Tuesday. And, of course, we got the holiday this weekend. Adam will be here to give us some thoughts on this Eagles-Packers game tomorrow. But today, we got the Eagles coming out of that game against Indianapolis. And, of course, Dallas looked really good. San Francisco looked really good. So we got a lot of questions, issues coming out of last week. Adam Caplan, how are you, my friend?
Boys, good to be with you. Yeah, I'm good, man. It's been an interesting week, no doubt. It's funny because, as you know, in talk radio, particularly with the Eagles, even when they win, people have problems. They won this guy fired, that guy fired, they got this issue. But the fans this week, at least they're off the defensive coordinator. Quite frankly, a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about in our segment today is probably going to be on the offense because the last 2 weeks, the offense has not really held up their end of the bargain. But there's been some issues we all knew about, particularly with injury. But it's one of the situations, Mike, that you just have to feel it as an Eagles fan. At least your team won. The stuff that they could control that's easily correctable, that's what you got the coaching team for.
Yeah, and I know that there were some issues coming out of last week, 17-16 against a Colts team that has struggled this season. But let's go with obviously the biggest issue, the middle of the field on the offense there, Adam. They just couldn't get anything going where Dallas Goedert gets targets. He takes attention. What'd you see there with Goedert, and how much of a factor is that going to be moving forward?
Yeah, Mike, just talking to people who graded the tape, it's kind of what we expected. Hurts would scan the field. He'd look, and then when he'd scan the middle of the field, there just wasn't that pass target that he was looking for. That, in fact, the other thing with Goedert, they really miss is someone physical in their pass game other than A.J. Brown. It's something that the coaches are going to have to figure out now that they have the tape. They see the way that the Colts played them, whether in their man coverage or zone coverage, and it became a problem. And they're just going to have to try to alleviate it with other players, whether it's Grant Calcaterra, who could flat out run. He's super fast. He's got good hands, but he's not the most physical guy. Whether it's Jack Stoll, they're going to have to figure something out. They can't just rely on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to do everything. That's the issue going forward, Mike. What are they going to do to help alleviate it the best that they can? What they could do is get the running backs involved in the pass game, which they did not really do at all last week.
They haven't done it all year, Adam. I was going to say, we talked about this yesterday. Miles Sanders had 50 catches as a rookie. The following 3 seasons, he has 66 combined. Boston Scott, good pass catcher. Kenny Gainwell, that's what he was billed at. Why are the running backs not a bigger part of the run game, not only without Goedert, even with them?
Yeah, it's been the biggest puzzlement for me. Sanders is not dropping passes, Mike. I mean, when they throw it to him, he's not. He's not putting the ball on the ground. He's been really good. He's having his most complete season as a runner. Boston Scott, you saw, got one. It's just Gainwell, his hands have been inconsistent, to say the least. He had a problem in training camp, carrying out plays correctly all the time. He had some drop passes. He's not been who they thought in the pass game this season. That's probably part of it. But you got to do it. And they're down a significant pass target who's a matchup guy in Goedert. You got to figure out another way to make explosive plays. Explosive plays. By the way, explosive runs are considered 5 yards or more. So for running backs in the pass game, it's the same way. 5 yards or more for running backs is called explosive play. You want to do that, and 20 yards or more is explosive play in the pass game for a tight end or particularly a wide receiver. They got to get that going here, and obviously Quez Watkins can do that. We'll get to him in a second. But the thing is, they've got to get running backs involved in the pass game because this is the thing. Joe Banner told me this years ago when we were at ESPN. The best way to evaluate a play caller is what will the running backs do against linebackers? Most running backs, Mike, could beat a linebacker. That's why you do it, and that's got to happen going forward.
Adam, let's touch on the running backs for a second here, particularly in the passing game. It's something Gil and I talked about yesterday, and it's no secret. So I want your insight. What's going on? I mean, is it Jalen Hurts? Is it the scheme? Is it the lack of talent and confidence that both Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen and the rest of the crew have on those guys? Because it just seems like it's non-existent, not even a thing.
You're right. So it's interesting when Carson Wentz was the quarterback here, when he was really playing well, even when he regressed, it didn't seem to matter. He did not want to throw the ball to the backs because he always wanted to make the big play. Hurts doesn't hold on the ball nearly as long as Wentz did. Now, Hurts last year held on it too long. He wasn't as sure of himself as he is this year. He was getting out much faster, almost a second faster. But when you look at this situation, he also doesn't dump the ball down. He's also trying to make the play. But what I also have, guys, is a lack of design here, a lack of a play call for the running back. That, to move this along, Ryan, on your question, it's a good one. I just don't think they're calling enough. And they have to do that. We've been, on Inside the Birds, we've been incredibly praiseworthy of the staff. But it's my one issue with the staff. I don't understand it. In today's NFL, Alvin Kamara's one who's special at it. Dalvin Cook's good at it when the Vikings call his name in the pass game. You see a lot of backs being so special in the pass game. I don't know why they're not doing it here. To me, it's like the missing link here. Again,
by the way, Sanders in 2019 had 50 catches for 500 yards, 10 yards a catch, and 3 touchdowns.
10 yards a catch? Wow.
Yeah, 50 for 509 yards.
Wow, Mike, here's the thing with Sanders. I get previous years he had drops, okay? I get that. That's fair. He's not putting the ball on the ground this year. His ball security has been great. To me, guys, they got to stop being stubborn. The staff has done an excellent job. They're one of the best in the league, but they could be better, and they have to find a way to get the backs an explosive play in the pass game.
One of the key factors to the success the Eagles had in getting out to an 8-0 start, Adam Caplan, is taking care of the football and turning teams over. I believe they're first in the NFL still in interceptions on defense, and they did an excellent job of taking care of the football on offense. 6 turnovers the last 2 games. What have you seen, and what's going on? What gives?
Yeah, I think first of all, ball security. A.J. Brown had a terrible turnover. I don't know what that was about. I mean, he wins on man coverage on a crosser, and then I don't know what happened. He acted like he didn't want to get hit, which is totally not like him. You saw him pull up, and then he never sees the linebacker Franklin. He should have seen him, by the way. He just didn't see him, and Franklin easily poked it out. That can't happen. You saw the Quez Watkins play last week. He gets up. He's got to know that he could get hit. It's a lack, guys, of awareness. On your question, Ryan, I think it's a lack of awareness. This is incredible. They played best in the NFL. They had the least amount of turnovers through the first 8 games. It was only 3. They have 6 over the last 2 games. And by the way, when you turn the ball over 2 times or more, you're going to lose 70% of the time. They're very lucky that they won last week's game. They probably shouldn't have won it, but they turned it over twice. The Colts only turned it over once, but they were able to overcome it. Hurts hung in there, made a great throw to Watkins, and they found a way to run it to win it. But the other thing is with Hurts, the question is is he running it too much?
Yeah, and we saw him. There was a period where he wasn't running the ball much, and now I guess they had to. They needed him to in that game the other day. And then conversely, some of the things that engagement we got from our listeners yesterday, Adam, was, okay, he ran the ball and won them the game, but if they need him to throw the ball to win a game, is he capable? And I said, well, look at the throw he made to Watkins.
Oh, of course he is. Come on.
Right? Look at the throw he made to Watkins, but can they get Watkins more involved now with Goedert out? Is he the guy?
Okay, a couple things. I'm not a Hurts apologist, or I like his development. But for people to actually question, can he win them a game? What have you been watching? Did someone really say that? Well, he hasn't won them. Like, what else do you want the guy to do? I don't know what.
Our text board yesterday had a flurry of texts, and
it's just to add to it. It's not that I want to defend any of them, but it's the playoff, and it's only 1 year. You get the break speed off you in Tampa, so it's just. Yeah. Well, let's wait and see if and when for the playoff victory.
Ryan, that's fair. Like, okay, it's kind of like you're conquering the regular season. Let's see what happens when the playoffs come. Look, Aaron Rodgers, by the way, who's maybe one of the best passers in NFL history, who's one of the top 5 passers to me, quarterbacks in NFL history. His record in the playoffs is not very good. That's just not as good as it should be for an elite football player. Because if that's what they're talking about, okay, that's a different story. But if you're telling me he hasn't done well enough, he hasn't shown he can win like people this season, in the regular season, I don't know what you're watching. He's been phenomenal. I mean, I didn't see this. He's been terrific. So he's I got Mahomes. I vote in 2 polls. I got Mahomes number 1 if I had a vote now. Not that we're voting now, but he's in my top 3, Hurts, for MVP.
And let's get back to the Watkins because he rips that throw to Watkins. Watkins seems like he gets those big plays. Can they try to take more shots with him with Goddard out? Is that open?
Yeah, and look, they tried. Okay, on the crosser, obviously for the big score. That was a great throw, great protection, a great catch. He caught both passes. Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to see. He only got 2 pass targets. I like to see 5 or 6. Now the problem is for the last 2 weeks they haven't thrown the ball very much because they actually got ball control to a certain extent, which I didn't see coming. So the hope is that they can get more involved because right now without Goddard, it's going to be A.J. Brown and Smith. Those are your top 2 pass targets. One guy could have more targets than the other guy in any particular game. Then your number 3 pass target, they're looking for anyone. In fact, what I'd love to see is one of the backs catch like 5 or 6 passes, but that probably will never happen. But yes, to answer your question, Watkins has got to get more involved, and he's become a better route runner, I'm told. So you'd like to see him get the ball more.
A couple defensive thoughts. Darius Slay had a rough game against McLaurin.
Yeah.
What'd you think about him in the secondary last week?
Yeah, on the Q&A show, they talk about the communication on our platform. I think that's definitely been a problem. You saw Josiah Scott get targeted the last 2 weeks, particularly this last game. Paris Campbell got him. So they're just going to do a better job of communicating until Avonte Maddox comes back. We're not exactly sure off the hamstring when he'll be available. But we had hinted before they put him on IR that it was not a 1-week injury. It was probably going to be at least a couple. I'm a little bit surprised they put him on IR, though, so quickly. So they knew it was a pretty significant hamstring strain. But they really need him back. But the good thing, even with Goddard and Jordan Davis and others, they're all going to be back before the end of the regular season. But you'd like to get them a couple weeks back before the regular season starts to get their legs back. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Adam, give me your take and thoughts on Linval Joseph and Sue, what they added to the defense and what that defense might look like when they're at full tilt.
We're going to talk tomorrow about this, but I'll give you a preview on Inside the Birds. Our show drops at 6 a.m. Eastern. We're actually going to devote a segment on this. I cannot believe the guys have played football since January. He's been in camp, been with anyone, and he actually revealed that he had 2 surgeries in the offseason. One of them, I believe, was shoulder. I cannot believe how well he played. It wasn't just the flash plays. It was really remarkable what he was able to do, and we'll describe in depth on our show tomorrow what it looked like. But quite the story, guys. And Sue had some good pass rushes where he got in there. This is great. And you know what the other thing is, Mike, is when they get Davis back, and I don't know if they've had anything like this, they could legitimately go like 6 deep on at D tackle once everybody's healthy. This is crazy what's happened the last 2 weeks. All of a sudden, they're going to have depth. And the hope is, based on what we've heard, Davis should not be back unless he has a setback in his rehab here. He should be back by the Giant game in Week 14.
Sticking with the offense here for a second, Adam. Devontae Smith is someone that I looked at going into this season and saying, well, this could be a good problem, but what does A.J. Brown's presence mean for Devontae Smith? And now you have a key weapon in Dallas Goedert out for the first time Sunday against the Colts. You see the production and attention towards Smith go up a little bit. 6 catches, 78 yards. He has just over 500 receiving on the season. Talk about what you've seen from him, what you saw from him without Dallas Goedert, and the importance of his role moving forward.
Yeah, Ryan, he looks super smooth, and I love the way that they're moving him around. He's what we call a Z receiver. I know that the coaches here don't like to say X and Z and Y and F, but he's been terrific. Because when Goddard and Brown are in the lineup, he seems to be sometimes a forgotten man, and that's something they have to figure out going forward. Now, if they get back to ball control, where they have like 80 plays or 70 plays where they could throw the ball a ton and also run it a ton, he'll probably be more consistent. But now without Goddard, they don't really have a choice. For the interim, he's got to get the ball more. And by the way, he led them in targets against the Colts with 9. He looked great. He had the 24-yard catch, which was a big one of the game. So that's the thing. Like, he's going to get the football. That's not in question. It's just how they deploy him, and I like the way that they're using him. I thought the coaches did a good job moving him around that game.
Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds, InsideTheBirds.com, the Inside the Birds podcast. Sunday Night Football this week. Adam will be back tomorrow. We'll take a little look at the Green Bay Packers. Who are these Packers? We'll discuss them a little bit more tomorrow on the show, but a little wrap-up there of Week 11. 17-16, the Eagles win an ugly one, but sometimes winning ugly is the best kind of win. Good teams win ugly. I mentioned this, Adam. The Rams lost 3 straight games last year. late in the year. Week 9, 10, they had a bye in 11 and 12. Good teams have adversity, and they figure it out if you're a good enough team. The Eagles having some adversity, and they're finding ways to even win. So that's a good sign. We'll see what happens this week against the Packers. Adam, we'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.